Marcel Reed is an undersized but electric dual-threat quarterback with NFL starting potential.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/locked-on. That's ODOO.com/locked-on. On today's episode, we take Marcel Reed, the dual threat quarterback from Texas A&M, underneath the summer scouting lens. We're going to, later on in the show, we're going to explain our grade. We're going to talk about the concerns. And Keith, we're going to kick it off with the pros. Marcel Reed, Keith, listed at 6'1", 185 pounds. I think that might be a little generous when you look at him. But 6'1", 185, coming off a season where he completed 62% of his passes, threw for 3,169 passing yards. He had 31 total touchdowns between rushing the ball, and throwing the football. This is a dynamic dual threat quarterback, Keith. What stood out to you on tape when you watched him?
Yeah, I mean, it's the electric athleticism, right? The ability to flip the field with his legs. And this is he's a quarterback that you're going to have to put potentially in that rare category of athlete at the quarterback position, meaning that I think he can be his impact with his legs can be of the Jayden Daniels, of the Lamar Jacksons, the shiftiness, the quickness, the start-stop ability, the ability to make people miss an open field, and his ability to accelerate at high levels very quickly, right? Is something that can truly be impactful. And I thought at Texas A&M DP, I believe his rushing stats, he finished just under 500 yards rushing. And I thought it was very unintentional. As far as utilizing his legs, I think there could have been more called runs. I think that he could have been invoked more into the running game and utilizing his legs as a weapon. So it will be interesting to see if he does that this year. But by far and away, when you're talking about the athletic ability and his running ability, it's electric, and it's his standout trait that I think that they need to dive into even more.
Yeah, I mean, heck, you go back to the LSU game, and everything like that. He had Casey Concepcion open for a touchdown, but pressure got to him in the backfield. He was flushed out, and then guys got out of the rush lanes, and he took it for like 40, 50 yards for a touchdown, right? And it's one of those situations where he's one of those quarterbacks, Keith, where defensively you tell your guys, hey, let's not go full, let's not go full speed, but we must rush him. Like, you don't want to just go pin your ears back, be super aggressive, and just go upfield and not be cognizant that he's a dual threat quarterback, because next thing you know, now he's out of the pocket. Especially if you're playing like man coverage and things like that. Certain SEC defenses want to man you up. They want to get up in your face and get in your grill and reroute your receivers and throw off timing and be physical. Well, the counter to that is having a dual threat quarterback. And if you don't play within your lanes, or you tell your edge rushers, hey, play contain, tell your defensive tackles, yeah, you guys pin your ears back and you collapse the pocket, but I need my edge rushers to contain. You have to devise a game plan that's surrounded, to me, that starts with his legs. Say, okay, we got to force him to stay in the pocket. We can't let him get out, because then if he gets out, he's basically a walking RPO. It's either he's going to run it or he's going to throw it on the move. And then you got those athletic receivers, like especially going into this year, Mario Craver as being their number one guy. Austin Bethel Roman, I think, is returning and stuff like that. Like, they have the weapons, and they have good running backs too. So being able to get the ball to whoever, and create that scramble drill. Defenses hate stuff like that. Corners hate to be, I'm plastered to my guy. Now the quarterback's out of the pocket. Now, instead of me covering for 3 seconds, I'm covering for 6, and I got to run with this dude for another route. He's breaking off on another route across the field to get back into the vision of his quarterback. He creates those headaches for a defense overall, Keith, and I think that's what I really appreciated about his game, just like off the rip with watching him. I think some of the things that stood out to me too, he throws a catchable football. He throws with touch. He knows how to layer the football well at all three levels. I appreciate that with him as well. a guy that does, if you protect him, even though he's a dude, and I think that goes back to your intentionality point, he's not running just to run. If you flush him, he'll run. If you call a design QB keeper, he'll run. But a lot of times when you watch him, he will sit in the pocket. If you give him protection, he'll sit back there. That back foot's going to hit. He's going to survey the field, and he's going to throw the football. So it's not. I don't think this is a guy that has to run the football like to be effective. I feel like he wants to win from the pocket. And I like athletic quarterbacks who have that mindset, because I always say your legs should be the ultimate equalizer as a quarterback. If we can get you to win from the pocket and you're willing to sit in the pocket, look over the defense, diagnose what's going on and throw the football, you're the best of both worlds, because now the defense has to worry about, well, he can throw from the pocket and he's willing to. And then, okay, well, if we do flush him and we bring pressure, we blitz, we don't get home and he gets out the pocket, now it's a 60-yard touchdown run, or him scrambling and then throwing the ball down the field and creating plays. You usually always be the one to bring up the intangibles. I got to talk about mental toughness, Keith. Like mental toughness. That South Carolina game, they were down multiple scores in that game. And he did not waver. He did not quit. He kept pushing and punching and fighting back until they ended up taking the lead in the second half of that game and everything like that. And that was the game where it was like, man, Texas A&M, people were like, oh, Texas A&M are frauds, and they don't belong as highly rated as they were supposed to be, as they were at the time. I remember that the conversations on Twitter during that game when South Carolina had the lead, and then Marcel Reed and Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion. I think that might have been him and Casey Concepcion game where they really start taking the top off of that South Carolina defense because those corners couldn't defend him. The mental toughness is there for him as well. I really like those aspects of his game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that was a huge game, DP, because I believe they were at home too. They were, I think it was at Texas A&M for that football game. So yeah, obviously a lot of pressure on them. I'll go with this. I'll go with arm strength. DP, I thought that he had a pretty good arm to push the ball down the field. And we'll get into other elements aspects of the arm talent, right? But I thought that I thought he had a pretty strong arm to be able to throw the deep ball and get it down the field, especially when you have guys like Casey Concepcion that can take the top off of the defense. So looking at Marcel, I think that there are a lot of areas for him to get better. And we had this conversation towards the end of the podcast too. But if he gets better, watch out. I think that's the thing, right? Because the athletic floor is there. Like the athleticism sets a high floor for him to just be a productive college quarterback, right? Now it's okay. Can we pull back more and more layers to get him to be a really good college quarterback and just unlock different things? So Marcel Reed, when watching him, DP, there were some things, and I you may agree or not, is that you were excited. I was excited about. I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. I kind of like this. I like this.
It's electric.
Yeah, it's electric. So there's some fun things. But let's get into this, DP. I want to continue to unlock this conversation, talking about Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed. Let's get into the concerns, right? What are the things that Marcel Reed needs to improve on to become a better collegiate quarterback heading into the 2027 NFL draft potentially? Let's discuss that coming up next.
Workplace chaos can show up fast. The problem is that finding the right candidate can take a lot more time than most businesses can afford, and that's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs help you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. One great addition can have a ripple effect on everyone around them. When you find someone who brings the right attitude, skills, and experience, and makes the entire group better. That's why finding qualified candidates matters so much, and why tools like Indeed Sponsored Jobs can make that process easier. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Throughout the NHL finals, every shift matters. Every moment is intense, and everything comes down to execution when the pressure is at its highest. And just like athletes must be ready to perform when the puck drops, a lot of guys want that same sense of readiness and confidence in their own lives too. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers modern, performance-focused treatments designed to help you be ready when it matters most. Their top option, Rougiette Ready, is a fast-acting, clinically formulated treatment that comes in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It's designed for convenience with fast absorption and effects that can begin in 15 minutes and may last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, which is formulated to support both performance and control for longer lasting needs. It's all about helping guys feel prepared, confident, and in control. The reality is most people don't want complicated routines. They want something that fits into real life and works without overthinking it. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougiette, performance medicine for men. Before we break down the concerns for Texas A&M star quarterback Marcel Reed, get your daily dose of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast completely ad-free by joining the Everyday Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to us, me and Keith, your favorite NFL draft analysts, without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes to go to lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com to claim your free trial right now. Keith, or Marcel Reed, what were some of the things that you look at like, man, you got to clean this up in 2026 to be able to solidify yourself as one of the top quarterbacks, not just in college football, but being in that group of this loading, and I'm not saying load into the first round talent and just elite quarterback. It's just a bunch of quarterbacks that could potentially be in the 2027 class that we've gone over. What does he need to do to put himself in the middle of that pack or closer to the top of that pack?
Yeah, we always talk about pre-snap, post-snap conversions, right? As far as the defense, what they show pre-snap to post-snap. I thought that there were times, DP, where he either didn't know the coverage or he got tricked, right? And it led him to throw the ball into very dangerous situations, meaning a nickel is sitting right there, a linebacker is sitting right there, a safety rolled down to the middle of the field, right? And you thought maybe you had a too high situation. So I think that it starts at he has to, and because when you say these type of things, right, that you try to, I guess, explain it in a way to where it doesn't come off extremely negative, right? So when I say like he has to get better at reading coverages or he has to understand the coverages, then it comes off with a connotation of like, oh, he don't know the defense from the neck up, or he doesn't know the game of football. All I know is when I'm watching the game, DP, there are times where Marcel Reed puts the ball in obviously harmful ways, and it's not like that all the time, right? Like there are times when he makes good decisions and really good plays with the football. So it's like, okay, how do you elevate that consistent part, right? What are you seeing to make you do that? And I think that's the part that the coaching staff, they have to start pulling that back in, saying like, okay, let's deep dive into this, because the ceiling is really high, but the ceiling can't be as high as low as the floor is, right? Like they both can't be operating the same way. And when you look at the back end of the season, DP, I believe it was the Texas game, and then was it Miami? I believe. He went, I think he went 0 for 4 as far as 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions those 2 games. And then even it was another game. South Carolina was a 2 interception game too. So you look at it, DP, 3 of his last 4 games, he threw 2 interceptions per game. The only one they didn't was Samford, and obviously, they blew him out 48-0. So looking at that situation, it's the turnovers, DP. It's the turnovers and putting the ball in harm's way. But where does it start? I think it starts pre-snap, but then also understanding, okay, pre-snap, it could be covered 2, but if it changes, where do I go, right? So it's just unlocking the next knowledge.
No, I'm with that, kid, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think for me, kid, I look at the accuracy and ball placement are inconsistent, so I tie it into 2 things. His footwork, watching him, lacks consistency of being just settled. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we use a lot of different like phrases in scouting, quiet feet for quarterbacks in the pocket. Watching him, Keith, his feet are loud as a 90s boombox in New York City after they won the finals. Like it's just loud and it's chaotic at times where his accuracy declines because he's not like settled in the pocket. Like he's bouncy, he's toesy. I don't know if it's like an anxiety thing. He's just like antsy in the pocket at times. And I want to see him calm that down, because now your accuracy and your ball placement, like a pass that would be that you normally would throw on point, it's off target, or it's behind your receiver crossing the middle of the field, which we know you don't do, is throw guys in the middle of the field and the ball's behind them where you got linebackers and safeties triggering in. He's got to get more settled and calm, and he's got to get consistency from his accuracy and his ball placement standpoint, because those are three of the things that really stood out to me. I'm like, man, for him to win from the pocket, you got to be accurate more consistently. And then I'm like, okay, well, your feet are the number one problem here. That's the culprit. You got to settle down when he's in the pocket. Just settle down, be calm, trust what's going on. I do wonder, Keith, is some of the toesiness. It goes back to almost the Bryce Young conversation. Bryce Young I think he came in what, 6? They said 6 foot, 5'11", whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, did he wind up? Did he come in at 6 foot? He did, huh? He wound up scraping it, maybe.
Yeah, I think he was like right on the cusp of 6 foot and everything. And I look at Marcel Reed. I said at the beginning of the show, they're saying he's 6'1". They're generous. I think he might be 6 foot, 180, right? Because he's also a wiry guy. I wonder if the toesiness, similar to Bryce at Bama, is because of visual issues of trying to find throwing lanes amongst the trees when you're behind the rainforest, trying to find guys down the field. So I want to see him just get better with his footwork and his accuracy overall.
Yeah, okay, no. So his Bryce Young official style, that's what I thought. It was 5'10" in the 8th.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
never mind.
I was about to say, I doubt, because I remember talking to Bryce, and I was like, "Now we pretty look at like we."
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So,
I don't know. Maybe 5. Maybe I thought 5'11", but 5. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
But no, to your point with the footwork, DP, and how it's inconsistent, I wonder if it's tied to what I was talking about too, right? Like it derives from the being uncomfortable because the picture changed, right?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, and then now you're thinking back there, right? And part of your thought process is, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm about to get up out of here, right? I'm about to get up out of the pocket. So, yeah, I think those things, and I agree with you. The accuracy part, it has to improve, because it has to take the next step of just getting the ball to the wide receiver to I'm placing the ball in a very specific spot for the wide receiver to be able to get the football. I think there's things like unlocking back shoulder throws, stuff like that he just needs to become, he needs to become a more nuanced passer. It seemed like last year was the introductory course level of throwing a football in the SEC, right? I think not a lot of people knew about Marcel Reed, things like that. Okay, cool. You had Texas A&M in a really good spot for majority of the season. Now take the next step. And when you look at their season, DP, and you look at their team, you can place responsibility on him that, hey, if he gets better, or if he played better in certain situations, where did Texas A&M end up, right? Because they had the offensive weapons. They have the offensive line and the defensive line, right? Defensively, pretty decent. Now it's just, hey, in these big-time moments when everything matches up, for instance, in the Miami game, the Ruben Bain, Akeem Messidor, those type of guys, go make a positive play, right? Go make one positive play. And remember, that game was ugly. I think it was, 10-3 at half, or 6-3. It was a very ugly football game offensively. So go make one or two just positive plays, and make something happen.
No, and to your point, you brought it up earlier.
10-3. The score was 10-3 at the end of the game. Yes, it was very ugly.
And to your point, like you talked about that stretch for Texas and Miami going 0 for 4, right? 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions between those two games. Like you said, if you take away one of those interceptions, against Miami, you turn it into a touchdown, and different things like that changes the entire course of that game to where, hey, it's a 10-10 game going into overtime, right? And you're at home. Matter of fact, like you were at home, Miami's walking into your building in a CFP kickoff game, and that started their run to the championship, right? And everything like that. So like they beat the SEC team. They got that. They didn't prove nothing to themselves. They just proved to everybody else that we belong here. And like that pressure, like I think for him, that's the other thing, is when pressure starts getting home, his eyes start to drop, And now he, like you talked about, like with him, you talked about from the aspect of when the picture changes, he's like, I get a little antsy. I need to get out of here because I don't know what I'm looking at. Then when pressure starts getting, it's the same thing. It's like his eyes drop. He's looking at the rush. He's like, I got to get from back here, right? So I think that's going to be a big thing for him. And I think for some teams, Keith, I feel like he's going to be knocked off some teams' boards just because of his build. He's wiry. He is thin, right? Like, like I said, they have him listed 6'1", 185. He's probably 6 foot. I would probably say 175. Like, this dude is built like Tank Dell at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, so I was just like, man, and for his play style, because he is so elusive, he is so electric as a runner. But then that leads to, well, do we want to open you up to the, I think from a play calling standpoint, I think that might be why it's more unintentional that he runs the football. It's like, hey, we don't call as much stuff for him because we don't want him to get hit like that, right? Like that was a big thing for Jayden Daniels for a lot of people. Like, man, Jayden was taller though. Jayden was tall and long-limbed and skinny and everything and slender. He's more shorter and slender. So it's like, all right, you don't have a big strike zone, but man, if you get clocked the wrong way, we might lose you for the season because you're so thin. So I think that's probably the reason why maybe the coaches staff, Mike Elko, them don't call as many QB zone reads and QB counters, and how we see some of these other quarterbacks, like you can run Arch on QB power, you can run Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway and these guys. I would be very weary running that with Marcel Reed overall and everything. But I think for him, the decision making and everything against pressure, dealing with pressure, just I want to see him get better. Like, hey, have those answers. Understand where you're hot at, where your hot receivers are. Get the ball out of your hands quickly. Things like that. He navigates the pocket well. When if it's just like an edge rusher getting back there, he'll slide and move it and reset and throw just fine. You know what I mean? He's got some really good moments doing that. When the pressure's just simulated looks and stuff like that, I see a quarterback that gets absolutely antsy in the pocket, that those eyes fall, and now he's looking for a way out of there rather than, hey, you're showing me simulated pressure. Where can I get the ball? Which receiver is going to be my hot, and who can I get the ball to? That's when I want to see that next step in evolution of his game mentally.
Yeah, it seems like he's a guy that probably got to second base as far as the knowledge of being a passer and what to do in certain situations. Now he needs to bring it on home, right? Like he needs to complete the picture, get the triple, get the home run, knock it out. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But DP, let's do this, man. Let's drop our grades, right? Grades heading into the 2026 college football season for these 2027 NFL draft prospects. We'll talk Marcel Reed coming up next.
Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. And guys, you can tell that the Los Angeles Rams have a long-term plan and they have a goal for 2026. Their move to get Myles Garrett wasn't reactionary. They know what they want and they went after it. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. And because of you guys, we are celebrating 10 years of the lights being on and being in business. So shout out to all of you guys making that possible. Keith, explain the grade. Let's talk about it with Marcel Reed, the dynamic, electric, dual-threat quarterback for Texas A&M. What grade did you land on for him heading into the season?
Yeah, this should be fun because I think we may go in two separate ways with this. I went with a second-round grade on Marcel Reed.
Okay.
I'm actually excited to see what he can do, or if he develops, if he takes the next step. And I know that the second-round grade, I guess the caveat is if he takes the next step, right? But if he does, I probably feel about him how you feel about Lenore Sellers, that he can be one of the bigger X-factor quarterbacks in this draft class, because we constantly talked about this, right? All you want is the opportunity for people to be able to compare you to a success story in the NFL, right? And if he gets people to say Jayden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, he's going to be in a really good situation, right? As far as his draft stock. So I'm looking at it, and then I'm thinking about Jayden Daniels, right? Before he had that Heisman winning campaign, remember Jayden Daniels, we had like a middle of the round grade on him. He was like, he's not seeing the field well. This is an issue. This is an issue. And then he came back the next season and just tore it up the entire time, to where it's like, all right, this is unbelievable, actually. To take that much of a step and really take that big of a step with a guy that had a lot of experience, right? Like when I'm talking about with Jayden Daniels, it wasn't like he just started for 1 year and was just getting introduced to college. He had played a good amount of years, and for whatever reason, football. Right, for whatever reason, that last year he took a huge step forward. So I'm looking at Marcel Reed, and I'm saying that, hey, if you're talking about 4.3 speed, I know the size he's undersized. But if there's an element of him being a dynamic playmaker, and he's able to help Texas A&M another college football playoff, and they actually make a deep run, it's going to get interesting. Just as far as now having to potentially invoke his name into higher elevated conversations in the quarterback class.
No, that's a fact, Keith. If he's able to do that and really take this team, empower and be the engine and engineer this team forward, then they, like you said, get in the CFP. You beat Texas, you beat Arch Manning and the Monstars that they have over there, all that talent they have at Texas and everything, and you get to the CFP and you have a run. Yeah, it's going to really help that like answer some questions about, man, he's a gamer. He's taking a big step forward. And I think for me, Keith, my grade, I gave him a 3rd. I think, for him, I just want to see the mental game really catch up to the athletic part of his game. That mental part of his game really catches up to the athleticism. I think you have a quarterback that scouts could be excited for, right? Because again, being able to push the ball down the field. Now, I think the one thing I want to see him get better at throwing in the middle of the field, I want to see more velocity and more juice in that regard. When we got some of those tight window throws, be able to really punch the ball in there and power it in there. But overall, I want to see him take that step mentally where I think when I initially did his scouting report over at Bleach Report before he went back to school, I was like, he's an explosive version of Bryce Young. And if you have that, that's actually a really good quarterback. But Bryce was so advanced from an anticipatory standpoint, reading defensive standpoint, winning from the pocket at the same time. So it's like, I want to see him take that step, because then when you get 4.3 speed with a guy that can anticipate throwing windows and get the ball out early and, be able to hit the short, intermediate, and deep ball and things like that. If he's able to do that with 4.3 speed, you got yourself a potential game changer at the quarterback position. Now, again, it'll take the right mind, offensive minded coach and things like that to buy in. Because some GMs are like, hey, he's 185, 180. Like, we really sure about this? He's 6 foot, things like that. He's got a lot to prove this season, because now, like, you're on the radar. Like, you're not sneaking up on anybody now. Like, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows what you can do. We saw the brilliance that you could put out, and we saw some of the mistakes. Now, can your brilliance overweigh those mistakes in 2026 in this season, and especially in the SEC, which is, once you get into the SEC play, it's a gauntlet no matter who you're playing. For the most part, everybody's physical, everybody's fast, everybody's tough. You got to be able to win in different ways. And I think for him, LSU might be a playoff team this year with Lane Kiffin. We'll see. Sam, we talked about Sam Levitt. I got a text after the episode. Somebody was like, bro, it don't sound like y'all like Sam Levitt at all. I was like, hey, man, he got to show us a lot. That's one thing he got to show us a lot, right? But with Lane Kiffin calling plays and all those weapons they got over there, like, they could be a CFP team. They could win. They could potentially win the SEC for all we know. You know what I mean? So Texas A&M, like, you want to see Marcel Reed take that big step forward and really be the star in Texas A&M for the Aggies that he can be.
Yeah, and looking at their schedule, DP, I think they have a decent schedule, right? Meaning that they have Missouri State. They start off with Missouri State, then they go to Arizona State, not go to, but they have Arizona State, Kentucky, and then that fourth week is the week you say LSU, right? But then they have that big game, but then they have Arkansas, Missouri, and Missouri's been a pretty decent team over the past few years, but they have Arkansas, Missouri, the Citadel, right? That's the next 3-game stretch. And then they go Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas. So it's going to be the same. Yeah, it's going to be the same thing as last year, that they may be sitting at 7-1, 8-0 potentially, and then they start with Alabama and then roll that entire stretch. So and that's to your point, DP, is that he's going to build the momentum. Now it's just, okay, can you deliver on it? And I think
close the deal.
Yeah, close the deal. And that's going to be the interesting part with this. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we're talking about Jayden Mayava, the USC quarterback, guy that could be another X factor in this class of a loaded class of quarterbacks. We're going to break down the concerns, explain the grade, and give you the pros and what could he do to really amplify his game heading into the 2026 college football season and 2027 NFL draft. All that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.